Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In Los Angeles.
Good morning, Rabbi.
And what do you need to expect all across Southern California, all as your Monday morning answer continues.
7 o'clock now. This is Larry Marie.
Wow, 7 o'clock. All right, I got that. It's so late. Machines have to go on. That's it. That's it. All right. Tzaddik base. All right. Freilach. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos Daf Tzadik Beis. Before we begin, just to make a correction, the last two shiurim I was quoting a Mishnah. The Mishnah that we were quoting was from Daf Ayin Hey Amid Beis, which is at the end of Klal Gadol. That was the Mishnah that began the whole sugya that if a person is going to be giving value to an item, the haraya, it's an item that's stored and stored in a specific amount. That is the amount for which if one carries on Shabbos, one is going to be chayiv chatos. And then the Mishnah concluded, but if the hamatzniya himself once stored even a lesser amount, then that person will be chayiv even for that lesser amount. That's a Mishnah at the end of Klal Gadol. Now we learned in the Mishnah that Tzadik Aleph Amid Beis, right? Kupa Shimaleya Pedis, I'm quoting from the Mishnah. If you have a box, the box is filled with produce, and the person takes the box, he makes an akira from his Reshus HaYachid, V'neshana Ali Skufa HaChitzayna, and as we established, the Iskufa HaChitzayna, halachically is a Reshus HaRabim. Eloma, the entire box was not under the Reshus HaRabim. Most of the boxes in the Reshus HaRabim. Some of the boxes still under the Reshus HaYachid. So the Mishnah established the rule that in order for you to be able to say that you did a akira and a hanacha is only after you did the entire akira. So since some of the box is still indoors, the Mishnah says you did not do a bona fide act of hoitza'ah and you're not chayiv chatos. On that we had in the Gemara the machlokes between Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan. Chizkiya says what's going to happen, right, if you have in the box little items? True, some of the boxes in the Reshus HaYachid, but let's say the box is filled with mustard seeds. Some of those mustard seeds, most of those mustard seeds, are completely out of the Reshus HaYachid. Indeed, Chizkiah says that you will be chayiv chatos for doing hoitzah on the chardal, even though the keli is still partially inside. But eged keli loy shemei eged. We don't say that just because the keli is one item and the one box, the one keli is not fully oiked. So what? It has nothing to do with the items in the box. The Mishnah's case is when the items in the box are also very long. Let's say you have cucumbers. So the items themselves were not fully taken out from, not fully uprooted from the Reshus HaYachid. That is only when the Mishnah says you're potter. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, that eget keli shemei eget. In other words, even if the box is filled with mustard seeds, so therefore, roiv of those mustard seeds are completely out of the Reshus HaYachid. You did an akira, doesn't matter. Since the chardal is in the box is not fully out of the Reshus HaYachid. So everything in the box is imbued and is viewed under the lens of the box. Eget kli shmei eget. It's considered part of the box. None of the chardal was completely taken out of the Reshus HaYachid. Even in that case is the case of the Mishnah, where the person indeed will not be chayiv chatos. So that was the machlokes. Now today on that Tzadik Beis, we will continue going back to a topic that we learned in the beginning of the Masechta, and that's how do we view a person's hand? The hand, when the hand is in the same domain as the feet, the hand, if the hand is in a different domain of the feet. There's a concept called the eged guf loy shmei eged, or eged guf shmei eged. We'll explain mamash, a similar concept. If my feet are in one domain, I extend my hand out to another domain. Where exactly is my hand? Is my hand still in the domain of my feet? Eged guf shmei eged, or do we view my hand as a separate entity? And we're going to go back and rechazer a detail that we learned in the first Mishnah on DAF Beis to see whether this plays into this topic or not. And also, lav dafke eged kli shmei eged, eged guf shmei eged, lav dafke, do they have to travel on the same track? We're going to introduce a new Mishnah on Daf Tzadik Beis that's going to reiterate a rule that we have by all of the Lamates Malachis, that you are only chayiv midoraisa if you do that malacha kidarkoi. If you do it shaloi kidarkoi, sometimes it's called kila'achar yad, then on a doiraisa level you will be exempt. And we're going to apply this to carrying, and we're going to make exceptions to that rule. We're going to bring the way that Bnei Kahas carried the Klei HaKodesh, that they carried it dafka on their shoulders, and we're going to consider, we're going to question whether carrying something on your shoulders is considered kedarkoi, whether carrying something in your hand, even if your hand is above 10 tfachim, is considered a bona fide act of carrying. We're going to get off the topic for a moment. Very interesting. We're going to have a discussion as to what was the average height of a Levi. In the Gemara, there's going to be a shita that Moshe Rabbeinu, that we know that he was extraordinarily tall. Al Pipshat Bepashtus, he was 10 amos tall. According to some Rishonim, his shoulders were 10 amos off the ground. 10 amos is 15 feet. And there is one shita that says that it wasn't even unique for Moshe Rabbeinu. Since he was from Bnei Levi, all of the Leviim, especially the Leviim that were involved in the carrying of the Klei HaMikdash, they were all of that height. And how that's going to play into your hand above 10 amos, above 10 tfachim, your hand below 10 tfachim, v'chulei. We're going to have another very important topic, which is the following. Whenever we speak about kedarkoi or shaloi kedarkoi, we already spoke this out before. Sometimes we say that even if in the whole world, a way of carrying is unusual, but if in your location, this is the way people carry, so in your location, you did an act of hoitzah kedarkoi. The context of this conversation will be certain people carry stuff on their heads, right? Us Brazilians are familiar with that, right? People are walking around with baskets on their head. The Gemara is going to bring us further that even if you are living in a location where such a thing is usual, if that location is such a small location, even over there, that act of carrying is called shaloi kedarkoi, because there we will say, batla daitei eitzel b'nei adam. It's normal over here. It's such a little village, we don't even count this location. And finally, we're going to have two gewaldige chedushim on Daf Tzadik Beis Amud Beis. We learned the sugya together of misasek. We're going to learn on Daf Tzadik Beis a new way of applying the heter of misasek. It's a big chiddush. It's not the normal way of misasek. We'll review it when we learn the Daf. And we will introduce the concept of two people doing a malacha together, especially if each one could have done it on their own. Like, for example, two people carry together a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread is not that heavy. Everyone can carry it on their own. And it's really a machlokes tanoim, but we're going to introduce the concept that here you'll be exempt. And that's going to be learned out of a pasuk that we found God in Parsha, in the Parsha of Chatos and Vayikra. The Torah uses the word ba'asois kula, that only when you do the malacha in its entirety, then do we consider you the doer. But if someone else participated with you, so they took away some of your avodah, you didn't do it all by yourself. And again, we're going to have a machlokes. When do we apply it? How do we apply it? But there's a concept of two people doing a malacha together on a d'oraisa level. They will be exempt. Okay, Chavra, let's start inside. 4 lines from the top of the Amid. As we just quoted now, we chazer the machlokes Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan. Chizkiah holds Chavra eget keli loy shmei eget. The Mishnah's case is only by cucumbers, not by chardal, as we explained. Rabbi Yochanan holds eget keli shmei eget. Moidedik. The Gemara is now going to tell us that just like they had that machlokes, this is the earlier generation of Amoraim, is a machlokes l'shem shamayim, goes on. That machlokes was also had between Abaye and Rava. However, Abaye and Rava's argument wasn't exactly the way Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan argued. Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan, each one took a side, and they stood with their side. Abaye and Rava began on one side, and then they both flipped, as we'll read it inside. At the end of the 4th line from the top of the Amid, Baruch Atah Adino Eloheinu Eloheinu Shakol Nirudvar. The Chein Omar Rava, as was that Lo Shanu in our Mishnah that you are pater. You put the roiv of the box on the skufa hachitzoina. So what? Some of the box is still in the house. You did not make an entire akira. So it's not only about the box, says Rava. He initially said that's only only if the box is filled with long vegetables. And therefore, the vegetables themselves, each vegetable individually was not fully uprooted from the Rishus HaYachid. But if this box is going to be filled l'mashal with chardom, little items, then the person will be chayiv. The box was not fully oikered from the Rishus HaYachid. You're not going to be chayiv for the box, but you're going to be chayiv for the chardom. In other words, Rava initially opined, like my friends, like Chizkiah, correct, that Igud Alma Rava held, this is in the past, we'll see he changed his mind, because Rava Eget Kli Loishmei Eget. And Abaye took the other side of the argument. Abaye originally held like Rabbi Yochanan, that he says, Afilu, Melaya Chardel, that's the case of the Mishnah. Still, you're going to be pater, because since the Chardel is imbued with the character trait of the box, the Chardel is in the box. The box wasn't fully uprooted from the Rishus HaYachid, and that's why you're pater. Alma, we see that Abaye originally held like the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan, Kesavar Eget Keili Shmei Eget. However, Zakti Gemara, Kam Abaye b'shitase de Rava, Kam Rava b'shitase de Abaye. Well, that's the way it works, Chavra. Many times, but sometimes when you have, Abaye and Rava, it's funny how maybe because one took one side, the other one took the other side. So they always were on different sides of this argument, but they both changed their opinions. In other words, Abaye eventually held like Chizkiah, and Rava opined like Rabbi Yochanan. Now on this, look at what's going on over here. Says the Gemara, after they changed their positions, then they made statements, and from the latter statement that Tosfos says, the second Tosfos in the Amid, we know that the statement that we are about to quote was made after they changed positions. After Abaye holds like Chizkiah, after Rava said, I'm going to go like Rabbi Yochanan, then Abaye and Rava both made statements, and this latter statement will appear to contradict their positions. Now we have a kasha, the Rami, the Abaye ad Abaye, the Rami, the Rava ad Rava. The Itmar was stated, Amoitzi Peris l'Rishus Rabim. Okay, Abaya Amar, Chevra halt cup over here, Bayot Chayev. If a person transfers something with his hand, what is he talking about? Dafke in the case, my friends, that the body remained in the original domain. I'm standing in my house. I extend my hand outwards. Eged guf shmei eged, similar concept. Abaya says that the person is liable. Have a look inside Rashi, 8 lines from the top of the Amud, the beginning of the line. Bayot chayev v'zogda. Abaya mishiyotzu haperes. The moment the Peris left the Rishus Hayachid, for example, va'afal pisha gufay is still in the Rishus Hayachid, but we don't view the hand as part of the body. It's not imbued with the same domain of the body. No, the hand is separate. In other words, eged gufay shemei eged. However, continued Abaya. Abaya said this after he changed sides. Abaya said this after he already said, I paskin like Rabbi Yochanan. Then Abaya said, however, bekeli, same concept, that if something is in a keli, this is the case of the Mishnah, some of the keli is still in the Rishus HaYachid. Only part of the keli is in the Rishus HaRabim, says Abaya, here you're going to be exempt. Bekeli Potter. Zakt Rashi again, that as long as some of the keli is bebeisai, you are exempt. Why? Even if what's in the box is very little, no, it comes out that at the end, faket, Abaya said shmei eged. That's a problem. How's that problem? Because again, when this he said after he was come Abaya b'shitasi the Rava. Abaya paskin at the end like Chizkiah. Then he went back to Rabbi Yochanan. Likewise, Rava, mamash everything the opposite. Rava says, bayod, mamash pum faket. When you put your hand out of the domain, guys, we had this discussion in the beginning of the Masech. When I put my hand outside, faket, Rava holds, I'm going to be exempt. You know why I'm exempt? Because the hand is part of the body. The same principle. Hoitzah is akira and a hanacha. If you didn't do a hanacha, you're pater. For you to do a hanacha, you have to do a proper akira. If you didn't fully do an akira, you're not doing a full hanacha. If your feet are still in the house, even though your hand is outside, eged guf shmei eged, your hand is still inside. And then Rava says, bikli chayav. In other words, after they changed their minds, they said something which goes back to the way they held in the beginning. That's a problem. So because of this apparent contradiction, says the Gemara Eper, this latter statement, when they were contrasting Eged Haguf and Eged Kli, has to be reversed. That Abayu was the one that said, Bikli Chayiv, Bikli Chayiv, Bayot Potter. Verstehst? Now, I was saying, but it's going to go exact the way their shita was after they retracted. Bottom line is, Abaya at the end holds like Chizkiah, and Rava at Rava's Maskana holds like the shita of Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Gemara, okay, now that you mentioned this whole concept of a hand, now we got a problem. If you remember the beginning of the Masechta, the moment we are saying that there is such a shita, that Eged Guf, Loishmei Eged, that means that if I put my hand outside, even if my feet are inside, since my hand is in the Rishus HaRabim, I made a proper akira, and now my hand is in another domain, which means I even made a hanacha, that mamish doesn't fit with the first Mishnah. How can that be? It says in the first Mishnah, one of the cases was Pashat Balabais Ishadei Lachutz. All right, here the Balabais is indoors. The Balabais is giving something to the Ani. The Balabas's hand went outside. The Ani took from the hand of the Balabais. That will be the kasha. We're just going to finish the clause in the Mishnah. Or the opposite. The Balabas put his hand outside. The Ani put something in the hand of the Balabais, and the Balabais brought it inside. In both of these cases, they're both pater. And the question will be from the first case that we just mentioned, where Pashat Balabais Yodei Lachutz, why is it that if not the Lani Mitreicha, why pater? Why pater? If the Balabas put his hand outside, and we don't say that the hand is still considered connected to the body, the hand wasn't fully, no, the hand is outdoors. If Eged Guf Loishmei Eged, why didn't the Balabayas violate the Isur Doiraisa? Chayev Chatos. So here answers the Gemara, this is so important. No, over there in the Mishnah, even though Eged Haguf, according to this opinion, Eged Haguf Loishmei Eged, You view the hand separately. Nevertheless, if the balabas's hand is above 3 tfachim, so what that his hand left the Rishus HaYachid? It did. You had a full akira, but you had 0 hanacha. And akira without an hanacha, you're not chayiv, it's only yisur d'rabbanan. That was the case of the Mishnah. Over there, l'mayla mishloisha. So there was 0 hanacha. When we're speaking about over here, the machlekes that we were mahapech, here the case was is that a person put his hand outside. If we subscribe to the concept that eged haguf loishmei eged, then if the hand, and only when the hand is lamata mishloisha tfachim, because of the laws of lavud, that is considered the hanacha. Now, if the hand is lamata mishloisha tfachim, but you say eged haguf shmei eged, you're not going to be chayiv. Why won't you be chayiv? Because you never did an akira yet. But that's the big difference. So again, over there in the Mishnah l'mayla mishloisha, over here, see some Rava's teaching. Lamata mishloisha. Guys, we're far from done with the hand on this daf. A lot more about a hand in a moment. Let's go on to the next Mishnah. Okay, this Mishnah is going to speak about the concept of kedarkoi. Fascinating. Says the Mishnah. I'm a writing, but carrying something with my left hand is called kedarkoi. Furthermore, if I'm carrying something I'm holding it in my chest. Or al kseifav, that's the chiddush according to most Rishonim. If I carry something on my shoulders, this is already less usual. Even on the shoulders, I'm going to be chayiv and kolchein if it's cheikoi or minoi usmailoi, and all of that is because she came masa b'nei kahas. Everything is learned from the midbar. Taken chumash by midbar, but not on chumash and nasai, because in nasai they were speaking about the bnei merari. And the Bnei Gershon, they transported on wagons. The Bnei Kahas, bakosef yiso. So you see over there that they carried on their shoulders. A lot more of that soon. Weiter. However, if I carry kala achar yodoi, what's that kala achar yodoi? Zok the Mishnah Mashal, beragloi, right? Befiv, b'marpekoi. Arpekoi means I put something under my armpit. Ba'oznoi in my ear, b'sari in my hair. This is important to have a money belt. Now, a money belt needed to be tied, but a person made sure that the place of the knot was always facing up. Because if you have the place of the mouth facing down, even if it's tied, in those days, it wasn't like a zipper, it would probably open up. No one did it that way. But if you had if the opening to this wallet is facing downwards, all of these things are considered kala achar yad, or says the Mishnah, bein pundase lachalukai. So if you hung your purse between your belt and your shirt, all these are all ways of carrying where there's a possibility that it's going to fall down. People didn't carry that way. Or ubisfas chalukai. Can you imagine you have a hem, right? When the minig was today, we had a hem and a pants, and you put something in the hem. Who would do that? If something would fall down, you probably would not even notice it. There, the hem wasn't in the pants, the hem was in your cloak, but the same concept, there was a hem, and if you put it in the hem, or bimina aloi, you put something in your shoe, or ubisandaloi, in your sandal, all of these cases, says the Mishnah, you're going to be parted from Eitzana Doiraisa level, farvaz, shaloi hoitzi kedarach hamoitzi in, shaloi kedarach, says the Gemara, that we quoted, that big seifai, that's the way we'll learn, that is considered kedarkoi, whether you find it kedarkoi de facto or not, I don't care, because everything is learned from what happened in the midbar, from the building of the Mishkan, and the Bnei Kahas carried things on their shoulders. So based on that, now let's go to another din. Says the Gemara, if you're carrying something above 10 tfachim, we are referring both to your hand or to your shoulder. In both cases, you will be chayiv. You know what the chiddush here is? The way we learn the Gemara, the chiddush is in your hand. Chiddush in your hand is, don't forget that l'mayla ma'asara tvachim in the Reshus Harabim is really not Reshus Harabim. Right? Let's go back to the beginning of the Masechta when we spoke about the Dalad Reshuyos. Any airspace above 10 tvachim is not Reshus Harabim. It's called a Markem Ptur. Now, if I'm carrying something, whether it's on my shoulder, whether it's in my hand, we're speaking about the hand and my shoulder are the same domain as my feet. Nevertheless, when I stop, right, the item, taka stopped, but it's l'mayla ma'asara. So one can argue, why should you be chayiv? You stopped, but you didn't make a hanocha in the Reshus HaRabim. Since everything is learned from Masa B'nei Kahos, the person is going to be chayiv. Shekei Masa B'nei Kahos. Okay. Now, my Masa B'nei Kahos, my friends, they carried things on their shoulders. We don't find that they carried things in their hands. We're learning the hand from the shoulder. So now we have to establish that articles that they carried on their shoulders stayed l'mayla masara tvachim. Now everyone is going to say, who needs even a raya for that? The shoulders is higher than 10 tvachim. The average height of a person in Torah is 3 amas. And guys, we're going to learn this entire sugya that whenever we give a height, we're not speaking about the height from the feet until the head. We're speaking the height till the shoulders. Some of the Rishonim learned the Gemara that way. It makes everything a lot easier. How much is 1 amma? So just to know that in the Beis HaMikdash, whenever we speak about amas, with few exceptions, it's a 6 tefach amma. Let's go with that. So if you're saying that the average height of a person is 3 amas until the shoulders, from feet until the shoulders, that's 18 tvachim. So why? So finished. If they carried things on their shoulders, the shoulders 18 tvachim above the ground, has to above 10 tvachim. That's a raya, but it's not a good raya because the articles that they carried were klei hakodesh, they were holy furniture, and they put the beams, the poles on their shoulders, but the items went lower than the shoulders. All the Gemara is going to have to do right now is to show that the bottom of, let's say, the Aron HaKodesh, the bottom of the Shulchan, whatever they carried, the bottom of the Mizbeach from there until the ground was certainly above 10 Tvachim, and they'll prove it. So that will be the raya that if you stop, even if something is on your shoulder, or therefore in your hand, and even if your shoulder and hand is above 10 Tvachim, that's called an act of faith. So it's considered the hanacha in the Reshus HaRabim. See, it's a little bit related to the Eged Guf. We can say, why? Because your feet are on the ground. Worded that way, gesund hate. But you still need to prove it from the B'nai Kahos. Umasa B'nai Kahos minalon. Again, maybe they carried things on their shoulders, but maybe the lowest part of that holy furniture until the ground was within 10 Tvachim. So we're going to have 2 different proofs. Proof number 1 is because it says in Bamidbar, Al HaMishkan V'Al HaMizbeach Saviv. We're speaking about them. The Mishkan guys refers to the curtains. So the pasuk juxtaposes the curtains and the mizbeach. And what do we learn from that? Hekish, makish, mizbeach, la mishkan. To tell you that just like the mishkan, the beams were 10 amos tall. The mizbeach is 10 amos tall. Guys, you need a hekish. It's funny that in Masechta Shabbos, when we established the concept of ein mikra yotzim edei pshuta, remember that? If you look inside Parshas Truma. With the Torah is giving you the dimensions of the Mizbeach, the Torah says, Shalosh Amois Kaimasai. And Chavra, we had the Sugi in Zvachim, and DAF Nun Tes. And Taka, some hold that this pasuk is not Kipshutai, that the Mizbeach HaChitzain, right, which is also known as the Mizbeach HaNechoshes, that it was hallowed. Even though it says it was 3 amas tall, it doesn't mean it was 3 amas tall. If you remember, it means that from above the ledge until the top, from the soiviv until the top, it was 3 amas. It was 10 amas tall. How do you know it was 10 amas tall? From this hakish. Okay, so first of all, how do you know that the Mishkan was also 10 amas? Because it says also in Parshas Truma, Esed amas oirach hakeresh. Because we established that. Now, guys, the key will be that the Mizbeach was 10 amas tall. Now, regarding the building of the Mishkan itself, so it says in Pashas Pekudei, and this is referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Vayiferoish Esa Oil ala Mishkan, that he, Moshe Rabbeinu, spread the oil, right, spread the tent over the Mishkan. And who did that? V'amarav Moshe Rabbeinu Parashai. And therefore, we have a concept that if Moshe Rabbeinu was able himself to spread the covering on the Mishkan, if the Mishkan was 10 amas tall, that's the hint in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu was a giant. And this Gemara holds that Moshe Rabbeinu was not the exception. He was from the tribe of Levi. So if Moshe Rabbeinu's height was 10 amas tall, because for you to properly be able to cover a beam that's standing 10 amas tall, you have to be 10 amas tall. Even better, your shoulder has to be 10 amas tall. And listen to this, all of the B'nai Levi, the ones that were involved in carrying, were also of that height. Mikan says the Gemara Talmud that Goyim Shalavim were at 10 amas. Guys, this is amazing. I mean, I remember in Cheder always learning that the Moshe Rabbeinu was a giant. right? He jumped up, he was 10 amas, and his staff was 10 amas, and he jumped 10 amas, and he hit Oig Melech HaBashan's ankle. 10 amas, means to be 15 feet tall, and noch an hour Gemara, 15 feet, not until your head, just until your shoulders. Then your head is Nachecher. And now we're saying that all of the B'nai Levi, at least the ones that were in charge, this Gemara holds were of that height. And now let's go like this. So when you have people that are that tall, and they're carrying, let's speak about the Mizbeach that we just established as Taka also, 10 amas. Now when they carried the Mizbeach, they didn't carry by putting their hands, they had, the Mizbeach had poles inserted in them, as it says, Beferish in the Chumash, and the poles were on the shoulders. Now the question is, how much of the height was above the pole? How much of the height of the Mizbeach was under the pole? That dimension is not written explicitly in the Chumash, and however, Ugimire, the Chol Tuna, any load, the midlay b'moitos, that is being carried in moitos, right, in beams and poles. So the rule is, tilsam in the milael, utrei tilsam ilatachas. That 1/3 of its height is above the carrier's shoulders. 2/3 are below. That means that you have, if the mizbeach is 10 amas tall, so how much of the height of the mizbeach was under the shoulders? Divide this, it's 6 amas and 2/3 amas. Okay, so how much space do you have from under the mizbeach until the ground? 3 amas and 1/3. How much is 3 amas and 1/3? So we're going every amas 6 tfachim. Nuz macht a cheshben, 3 amas and 1/3 is 20 tfachim, double than 10. So that's one source is ishtakach to have a midlay tuva, asach mervitsan. So that's one source that the Levium, that when they carried, the lowest part of the Klei Kodesh was way above 10 tfachim. And again, you could have argued if it's above 10 tfachim, it's in the Rishus, it's in a Makim Ptur. Nevertheless, that's the way they carried, and therefore Shkei Masa B'nai Kahas, we don't say that. Now, this is based on the premise that all of the B'nai Kahas were tall 10 amas, which is a big chiddush, and this other sheet in the Gemara does not subscribe to that. That was unique by Moshe. So there's another proof. You don't need the Mizbeach. Go to the Aron HaKodesh. Now the Aron HaKodesh's height is written also Beferish and Truma. The Torah says it was 2 by 2.5 by 1.5 by the height of 1.5. How tall is 1.5, my friends? Again, if every amma is 6 tfachim, so 1.5 is 9 tfachim. So because Aron HaKodesh was 9 tfachim height. But on top of that was the kapoides. The kapoides, the covering was 1 tefach. That means that from the ground until the ma'ala kapoides, hadei kanasada. When the Rebbe always used to say, Lamata Masara Tvachim, that was based on a sugi. I think we'll have this in Sukkah, or a little bit later in Moed, where that's the whole vart, that the Shechina came down, Mibein Shnei Akruvim. The Kruvim were on top of the Kapoides. The Kapoides was 10 Tvachim off the ground. When Hashem, so to say, there was a special Gilui of Malchus in this speech, was above the Kruvim. That's because until the coming of Mashiach, even though the Shechina came down to earth, but it was never able to come beneath 10 Tvachim. It always was l'mayla mi 10 tvachim, because the kapoides themselves was already 10 tvachim. The keruvim were even higher. The uniqueness of the coming of Mashiach is that the Shekhinah is going to come down l'mata masara tvachim. We're coming back over here. So now he says Pasha. Let's say that the Levium were no average height. Average height, my friend, is 3 amas. 3 amas, again, if every amma in the Beis HaMikdash is 6 tvachim, 3 amas means 18 tvachim. And again, we're learning 18 tvachim until the shoulder. That's taka the height of a person. Again, the same rule is that the chol tuna the midli b'moitos, anything that's carried on poles, tilsam ila'el, tilsam ila'am. So how much do you have beneath their shoulders? 6.5 tfachim. But don't forget, halt up. 6.5 tfachim, they have it on their shoulders. They have it on their shoulders. How tall are they? Let's go, they're 18 tfachim tall. So the 6.5 tfachim, I'm sorry, not 6.5, 6 2/3 tfachim, it's eating up from the 18. So deduct it off the 18, you still have more than 10 without making the whole cheshbon of the mizbeach. Still, ishtakach the l'mayla masora havakoi. So that's also a proof. The fact that when they carried the Aron HaKodesh, the lowest part of the Aron Kodesh was for sure higher than 10 tfachim off the ground, that when you stop and something is on your shoulder, and the Gemara is comparing the hand to the shoulder, even if the hand is above 10 tefachim, we consider it as if you made a hanacha in the Rishus Rabbim. Why did why did you need to have the second opinion? What was wrong with the first? So the Gemara says, why didn't you learn from the way the Levium carried the Mizbeach? So the Gemara says, because that's no proof. Why is that no proof? Because for Dilma, Moshe, Shani, maybe only Moshe was the giant, the Amar Mar, Ein Ashchina Shoira, El Al Chacham, and Giboir, and Ashir, Ubal Koima, and that was unique for Moshe Rabbeinu. But who told you that all the other Bnei Kohasniks were Azab Bal Koima, that they were 15 feet tall from the ground until their shoulders? Like Chazering that the Rabbi Yoel, the Satmar Rebbe, always says, in Ashchina Shoira Al Chacham, Giboir, Ashir, Ubal Koima. So it says regarding the Kohen Gadol, that the Kohen Gadol has to be a wiser and stronger and taller and wealthier. So the Gemara says, and if he's not wealthier, then all of the Kahanim have to give some of their money to the Kohen Gadol until he becomes de facto wealthier than everyone else. So the Satmar Rebbe says, Mela wealth you can share with him. But how does that help for Chachma? How does it help for height? How does it help for Gevura? So he says, if you're wealthier, you're smarter, you're taller, you're stronger. That's the way of the world. Okay, weiter. Says the Gemara that we're speaking about carrying Sholai Kedarki. Amar Rav in the name of Rabbi Chia. Hamoitzi masim b'Shabbos al roishai. Welcome to Brazil. You're carrying stuff, or Africa on your head. So the din is, you're chayiv chatos. Why are you chayiv chatos? Why is it not Sholai Kedarki? No, because Anshe Hutzel loisim came. Says, asks the Gemara, Hutzel is as a village. Since the Hutzel Nikas, they carried stuff on their head, it's called Kedarkai. Anshe Hutzel Ruba da Alma can be. Elot must be, we got the wrong version. That what was really learned, the opposite. That Echad Mibnei Hutzel Shohoitzi Masay Al Roishay. Only if you live in that location, Ayechayiv, Shekain Bnei Iro Yasin Kain. And we already spoke about this many DAF ago, that we don't look at the whole world together. Like if you are a professional, if people in your profession do something in a certain way, you'll be chayiv chatos because you belong to that group. So the same thing is in geography. If you come from that location, even though the rest of the world doesn't schlep things on their head, if in this location people schlep it on their head, then for you it's considered kedarkoi. And now will come the chiddush that we never learned yet. Says the Gemara, even though this is a rule, but if you live in a location that's so little, so few people live there, even though in your location, in your little village, in your shtetl, people schlep things on their heads, it still is not enough to say that this is kedarkai. Frag the Gemara still, v'tibatel daitel eitzel kol adam. Because it's that little, has to do with such a small village. They don't establish even for a hutzel itself the kedarkai. And indeed, Eli Itmer, and we're going to Akotze, that what did Rav say in the name of Rabbi Chia? You are completely exempt. That means even a resident of Hutzel is exempt. Chevra daf tzadik beis, amid beis. Ve'imtim soleimer. Why? Anshe Hutzel oisim came. So that's the whole chiddush of Rabbi Chia here. Amar Rav Amar Chia, that batla daiton eitzel kol adam. It's considered that unusual to schlep things on top of your head. All right, weiter. Now, as we spoke out in our introduction, we already learned the sugya of misasek. We're going to have a moedidika application of misasek. This is an unusual application. Now listen to this. In the context of Eitzah, your kavana, my friend, is to carry an object, but it's going to be, like we learned in the previous Mishnah, you're going to put it on you, but in front of you. You're hanging it on your garb, kedarkoi, in front of you. And what happened, as you are walking, this article somehow slipped and it went behind you, still carrying it. We're not even saying that carrying it behind you is shaloi kedarkoi. We're not saying that. What we are saying is that no matter what, you are exempt. What's that you are exempt? Look inside the top Rashi. Right, you wrap money in a cloth. And why did you wrap it in a cloth? Because you wanted to hang it, Zakt Rashi Kadesh, to learn Lefanov. Why are you pater? Says Rashi, you are unpleased with the change. As the Gemara will say, an item that's hanging in front of you is much better protected than an article that's hanging behind you. While you're going back to Brazil, it's always good in Brazil to put your wallet in your front pockets, not in your back pockets. Push it. Because you can see it, you see it better. It's harder to ganv it. So it's called it's a downgraded protection. So you're not pleased with it. So what? Look inside the Rashi, guys, the third Rashi from the third line from the V'havalekim misasek. No, you carried it. It's not a shaloi kedarkoi. It's that since you intended to carry it in one way, and there is a change that you are not pleased with, you didn't have in mind that. Wow. So you're pater. However, says the Mishnah, the opposite. If la'acharav, you hung it behind you, and as you're walking around the balulafanov, it slipped in front of you, then you're chayiv. And the Gemara will explain, like we just spoke out, because then it doesn't have to be exactly the way you wanted. Are you pleased with the change? Are you unpleased with the change? If you're unpleased with the change, even though you did a malacha, it's not the case that we learned above of misasek. You wanted to pick something up and you wanted to do hagbah and you did a maisa of telisha. That's not the case here. It's kimisasek. Oh. Now be'emes amru. We're going to go, be'emes can mean the name of a place. We're going to go, be'emes means halacha l'meishem misinai. Be'emes means in emesin. Everyone is moida because this is tak halacha l'meishem misinai. That there's an exception to that. Not everyone is unpleased if the article went to the back. So you have what's called an underskirt, and a woman hung something from the underskirt. For tznius. And there no one really sees what's going on. So whichever way, even if it flipped around, she's always going to be chayeves. Because it's normal for things to shift around. She lechatchila knew it might shift around. She doesn't care if it shifts around. In other words, since she knew it's going to shift, let's go with that. Since she knew it's going to shift, so she knew that in advance. You can't say she didn't know about it and she's not pleased. Even if she would prefer in the front, she knew about it. And Rabbi says, Af mekabli ptakin. Machlokes had to learn this line. Let's go with that. Ashba and other Rishonim is speaking pashut about male carriers, male men, male women, that they have these pouches and they have pockets in them. And by them, they're always schlepping stuff on them. And that pouch is always drengzach. So the same concept, since you are aware that it's going to go from the front to the back, from the back to the front, you knew in advance. If you knew in advance, even though you would prefer for it to be in the front, you knew that it's not misasek. Okay, says the Gemara, Ma'ishna lofanov ubayul achar of the pater. The Gemara's question is because the law is avid machshavtei. So your intention was not fulfilled. Well, if it's about your intention not being fulfilled, we already gave the intro about you not being pleased. But before we get to that, you should be pater. So Amar Rabbi Lazar, indeed, you just broke the Mishnah. There must be a machlokes tanoim. Rabbeinu HaKadosh put them together. No, there's really a machlokes whether this change is of significance, halachically or not. And whoever learned one, misha shanazu leishanazu. Either you're always chayiv, because it's not considered a change to make it misasek, or you're taka always pater. And taka, that's what he learns, that any time lo yisavid machshavtoi, you're pater. Says the Gemara, no. Amaravo, my kushya, I don't get your question. Dilma, lefon of it's not just because lo yisavid machshavtoi, hainu tamad pater. That's the word, we said this in the Mishnah. You intended to carry it in a way that it's better protected. It's in front of you. But also, and it came out that it was poorly guarded. That's the word. In other words, you are dissatisfied. You're dissatisfied. You're not pleased with the change. But if you know why the Mishnah Taka holds your chayv the same Tana? Because the neschav and the shmira pchusa, but also like shmira mula fakert. Taka, there's a change. Well, it's avid machshavte, but it went for the better. If you're pleased with the change, then it's not called misasek. However, Rabbi is moida that there is a certain kasha that you make not from the explicit words of the Mishnah, but from the implication of the Mishnah. Eli kasha diuka de masnisim kasha. Gewaldig. It's from the diuk of the nation, the diuk of a sefer. It appears that there's a stira. So let's be medayik. That implies if you put it lachatchila behind you and it stayed behind you, you're going to be chayiv. Okay, you're going to be chayiv because it's avid machshavti, right? Your intentions were fulfilled. But then look from the diuk of the sefer. The Mishnah writes explicitly la'achrav of who the chayiv. It's mashma that la'achrav you're pater. Now, before we go on, why would there even be a havamina that if you put it behind you, you hung it on your belt behind you, and it stayed behind you, why b'chal would you be pater? It could be, guys, we're going to learn like some of the Shainim say, because this is considered shaloi kedarkei. Taka, since it's such a shmira, b'chusa, most people don't carry it that way. It might be pater, not because of your machshava, because it's shaloi kedarkei. And taka, let's be medayik that will be the sheet of the Mishnah. Because of this, of the stira from the diuk, said Rabbi Lazar Tavra, Mishashanazu, Loishanazu, and on that says Ravashi, even that diuk is Leichemishkin Kasha. Am Ravashi my kosher. Dilma, you were medayik from the sefer wrongly. Loimi boya ka'amar. Guys, we were referring to the sefer. Loimi boya la'achrav. The Mishnah had no need even to say that you're chayiv. Why? Because there is avida machshavtoi, which is the key. Elo afilu la'achrav lefanov. Here the Mishnah has to speak about that case because there's a chiddush here. It's you would think it's just about a savad machshavtoi, and since your intentions were not fulfilled, indeed you won't be chayiv. That's the word kamash malan. Even though it's not what you wanted, but you are pleased with the change. And since you are happy, in other words, you carried it. There's so many ways of understanding it, but let's go that since you are pleased with the change and you carried it, in other words, the act of carrying happened, your intentions as to the result, it came from here and it went there. That was fulfilled. It was carried in a way that you had even a greater amount of shmira. You're going to be chayev. Okay. Says the Gemara, I want you to know, or perhaps that now that we introduced, according to Rava's understanding of Rabbi Lazar's problem, that maybe carrying something, hanging it on the back of your clothing, to begin with, is already considered an act of shaloi kedarkei. You know what? Maybe it's taka machlokes tanoim. The Tanya. Right, we spoke to that in the Mishnah. As long as the opening of your wallet is up, even if you tied it, but it's facing up, that's when you're chayiv. That's kedarkei. If you put something in a pouch and you tie it, but you put the mouth of the pouch down, you're always going to be pialamata your potter. And as we learned in the Mishnah, because that's shaloi kedarkei, most people don't carry that way. However, Rabbi Yehuda is machayiv. I'm sorry, pialamata machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda machayiv, the chachamim poitrim. Okay. Why would the Rabbi Yehuda be mechayiv? Because most people don't carry it that way, but let's use the words, it's not a significant deviation. The Chachamim consider this a significant deviation. And now let's go weiter, what they interchanged words, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda, is the charaya that it's not that usual people carry it in the back, but it's not considered a significant deviation. The Chachamim responded, or if you carried it with ragloi, don't you agree that you're pater? And to that, Rabbi Yehuda says, Ani omarti davar echad. Vehem amru davar echad. Ani lo metzasi tshuva l'divreihem, vehem lo metzasi tshuva l'dvarai. End of Braisa. So says the Gemara, Midika amar lahu, the words, I atem moidim. Rabbi Yehuda tells the Chachamim, are you not moide? L'chura taka means that the Chachamim are not moide. Lav mechlal the patri rabbanim. And he gave an example of la'achrav. So l'chura that's taka machlokes tanoim. So the Gemara says, absolutely not. Ula taimeich, that when the Chachamim said in back, I atem moidim li, right, when we're speaking about, aren't you moide that if you carry something on your foot that you're pater, what that means, Rabbi Yehuda argues with that. Mechlal the machayv Rabbi Yehuda, that can't be, we learned in our Mishnah, and no one argues. or even furthermore, it says in Abraisa behemshach to that machloikes la'achar yod v'raglo divrachol pater. Ella iyat moide mi means ella la'achar la'achar divrachol chayiv. No machloikes. Why is everyone holding chayiv? Because the deviation is not that significant. La'achar yod v'raglo divrachol pater. That's taka kalachar yad. The only machloikes of these tanaim completely is only bipundasai upiya lamata. That mar Rabbi Yehuda. It's not a significant deviation. Umar, the Chachamim, it is a significant deviation, and you are pater. Okay, referring back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, Be'emes amru, right, that if a woman was wearing a underskirt, and she hung something on that underskirt, and such a gedreit, wherever it went, she knew it's going to happen, she intended for it, she's always going to be chayiv. Tana, we learned in a Braisa that whenever we have a statement of a Tana beginning with be'emes, kol be'emes, halacha. Guys, halacha here doesn't mean halacha l'moshe misinai. Halacha means this is taka the halacha. But again, be'emes, according to some Rishonim, means halacha l'moshe misinai, which is why this is the halacha. We learned like the Rashba. Tana, we learned in a Braisa, shkein lav lore malchus, right? Royal scribes. And it's not about a scribe, it's about them transporting the letters. How would they carry it? Oisen Kane, they were carried in a pouch, and those pouches were not tight. It would Zajac from the front to the back, it would turn around their bodies, and they knew Lachatchila it might go to the back, and therefore, since they knew that, so they intended for that from the outset, it's not called Kalachar Yadoi. And that is what we are comparing. Rabbi Yehuda compares that to the women, right, that are wearing this underskirt. Okay, now, Chevre, we are beginning the sugya of Shnaim Shalsu. Many of us are familiar with the sugya. We're going to see it's a three-way machlokes tanoim. Let's begin. Says the Holy Mishnah, Hamoitzi kikar l'reshus harabah. Okay, you're taking a loaf of bread. Loaf of bread is an article that's not large. Everyone can carry it by themselves. I just want to say from the outset, a place that we'll have on Daf Tzadik Gimel, whenever we speak about able to carry, Shitas Tosfos is not whether it's objectively, let's say, light or heavy. No. Able to carry means that your hands are on an article in a place, let's say there's a beam. Let's say the beam weighs, 50 pounds. Let's say you can carry 50 pounds. You can carry 50 pounds if your hands are under it, in the middle, balanced. If you're carrying it by an edge, even though you have the koyach to schlep 50 pounds, but not when your hands are on the edge. Tosfos says that's the meaning you are unable to carry it. It's good to have that klal. We're looking at where are you holding on to it. If the other person right now would let go, could you do it? That means you can carry it by yourself. If the other person will let go, then the way you are carrying it, it's going to fall out of your hands. That means that you cannot do it. A loaf of bread, no matter where I am holding on to it, I can be holding on to the edge. It weighs a pound. If someone else will let go, the way I'm holding it, I'll still hold it. It's not going to fall out of my hands. So if I carried it by myself, says the Mishnah Chayev, this is a pshita, but the Mishnah is building up. But here I'm going to be exempt. Here I'm going to be potted. Now we're going to have a source for this in the Gemara. We quoted the source already in our intro, but there's a logic here because I am not fully carrying it. Since my hands would carry it, I carried it. You added your koyach to it. Your koyach took away from my koyach. It means that I don't have to fully do it. I didn't fully do it. However, says the Mishnah, we're going to see in the Gemara that our Tan is Rabbi Yehuda. Normally it's Mishnah Rav Meir, but it doesn't always have to be that way. However, lo yachol echad lo hitziai. If they're carrying an item, the way I am holding on to it, I cannot carry it by myself. And two people took it out together. I held one half of the beam from one edge. You held the other half. Here, our Tana holds that they're both liable. They're both liable. Then we'll speak out more disfar in the Gemara. And on this, says the Tana Rab Shimon, I don't care. I don't care that one was unable to carry by himself. The fact is, it was carried by two people. So that exemption that we'll learn from the pasuk Ba'asoisa goes here also. Says Rab Shimon that pointed they are both potted. So let's begin the sugya. I mean, we're going to focus on this tomorrow. Let's just get to Daf Tzadik Gimel. Everything has to begin with a source. The source is from the Torah. Amar Rav Yehuda Manav, or V'amri Lei Amar Abaya, or that the following statement was actually said by Yatana, the Masnisatan. Ze Yachol v'Ze Yachol. Ze Yachol v'Ze Yachol. That's the case of a bread. Each one Yachol, each one is able to carry by himself, but nevertheless they carried it together. Oh, so here we introduced. Again, that's not the Tanach of our Mishnah. Says Rabbi Meir Yerchayev. Whenever who's the bar plukta of Rav Meir Rabbi Yehuda? That means our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. And indeed, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, like we learned already, Rabbi Shimon and our Mishnah was the most lenient. Avada here are poitrin. Now the next step, Ze'eni Yachol, this we had in our Mishnah. So it was only able to be transported because two people are carrying it together. So both Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Meir are Mechayev. Of course, Rav Meir is Mechayev. But even here, even Rabbi Yehuda is Mechayev. And like we learned in our Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon is Poiter. And now we're going to learn a final case that we're going to leave more to explain tomorrow. What happens if Ze Yachol v'Ze Eini Yachol? One was able and the other was unable. So says the Tana, Divrei HaKoil, Chayev, Chayev b'Loshen Yachid. He is Chayev. Who is the he? Stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll find out who's the he. Okay, Tayanami Yachi. Hamoitzi Kikin L'Reshus Rabbi Chayev, like the Mishnah began Sapshita, but we're beginning to build up the case. If two people carried out Ziyu Shnayim, so here's the Machloikis. Again, it's good to know that. It's not everyone holds your pater. Rav Meir says you're still chayiv. I don't care that you were able to carry it by yourself and two people did it. So what? You did your part. B'chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. If taka you carried something that one person on their own would be unable, then they're both chayiv. Chayovin. But the imlav, which is the case of the bread, which is the beginning of our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda holds, like Rab Shimon, that peturim. And Rav Shimon says, in both cases, you're pater. Even if, right, that's what we learned in our Mishnah. Now, we know immediately, what's the source of that? The Tanach Rabbanan we learned in the Brayso. Chevrev says in Vayikra, in the what we call the Parsha Vayikra. This is in the Parshiyos that speak about the Korban Chatos. So the pasuk begins, Ve'im nefesh achas techta pishgaga me'am ha'aretz, and now comes the key word be'asoyso, right, by his committing it, ba'asois is a composite of two words, ba'asois oisa, meaning ha'oises kula, only if you perform the dansa act, the whole Isur Dika act, only then are you chayiv chatos, including for Shabbos, for Chilul Shabbos, but v'loya oises miktsasa. If you did only part of the act, what does it mean part of the act? Think about what we said. If I'm carrying a loaf of bread, and you put your hand under it as well, so you took away from my act of carrying. That's the way Rabbi Yehuda understands, because I didn't fully carry it. So if I didn't fully carry it, I only carried part of it. For carrying part of it, I'm not going to be chayv chatos. And Kate said, the Brayso gives a few examples. All this is, my friends, Rabbi Yehuda, that we will differentiate between something that both people can carry by themselves, versus if it's something heavy that one person cannot carry by themselves. So we're speaking about a pitchfork. We're speaking about kalim that are used to stack produce. We are speaking about the av of ma'amer, of gathering. Now these are kalim that each individual is able to carry by themselves, but two people carried it. Two people did it. Two people were ma'amer. Or becharkar v'shoiftim, right? Guys, if you remember when we spoke about the malacha of meseich, of mounting the warp threads on the loom, and a tolda of that was the shoivet. So when you have all the threads spread out, you don't want, before the weave happens, for one thread to overlap the other. So they had this shoivet, they had this little pick that had a pointed tip known as the shoivet, and they would make sure that each of the threads are properly separated one from the other. These kalim are very light, but not one person, two people did the act of separating. Or let's go to writing, two people who are holding a pen and writing. One person can write on their own, or two people are holding a reed. He's just giving a mashal of something that's very light. And right? So v'yachol yu chayavim Talmud Lemon. That's the source. Ba'asoisa, that's the pshat. In other words, only ha'isa skula v'lo ha'isa miktsasa. However, let's start at least DAF Tzaddik Gimel Amud Aleph, the continuation of the Baraisa. Now we're going to speak about something that's heavier. The eagle shall devela, a large cake of pressed figs. How large? Obviously, azay large that one person cannot carry it on their own. And let's just read the Tosfos inside it. It sheds light to it. The fourth Tosfos in the Amid. Amar Mar Zay Yachal Zay Yachal. Niralari says Tosfos. The Hayena Yachal, like the eagle shall devela. You think one guy cannot carry up a big cake of pressed figs? I feel about koya harbe. We're not speaking about could you have done it. He's carrying the beam at a place that so in other words, you're carrying it in a way that if the other guy would let go of this, let's go back in the Baraisa of the eagle or the vela, it would fall. And or back on Baraisa continues, Rabbi Yehuda says, Im loy yachol echad loy tziyoi, and indeed v'tziyu shnayim, her yachayev, chayav. Ve'im lav, you're peturim. Rabbi Yehuda, okay, no, Rabbi Yehuda only gives the exemption when either of them can carry it alone. And Rab Shimon is the most lenient. Rab Shimon Ayman, like we had at the end of our Mishnah, af al pi shelo yachol echad loy tziyoi, and v'tziyu shnayim, both were needed, so what? They are still peturim, and that's the limit of ba'asoisa, yochid shasa, chayiv, shnayim, sha'asu, right? Even where, that's the word, even though one cannot do it by himself, he is exempt. So this is the machloikes, Rabbi Yehuda and Rab Shimon, and tomorrow, God willing, a lot more to expound all of the svaras of all of these three Tanoim.
Rabbi, what is Rab Shimon with the first case of the Gemara? It says, "V'im zeyachal ha'itzi levad v'zeni yachal l'divrei hakol chayav." Explain
that tomorrow. And not chayavin is both. It's not even. We don't even know what the Baraisa means. Like, who is the chayav? The Baraisa didn't say.
It seems like it's a contradiction on everything else we learned later on. No.
Okay, good. It's good. It's called the cliffhanger. Ratzu.
Okay, shkayach.
No, it's good to know. Everyone says Shnaim Shasu. Rav Meir doesn't subscribe to that. B'chlal not. Two people carry a loaf of bread. They're both chayiv. Very good.
Shkach, Rabbi.
Guys, aguten. Stay safe.
Jonathan.
Stay home, stay safe.
Jonathan comes always. He always comes the last minute. Perfect.
I got Ikar. Oh, exactly. Even better.
It goes at the end. That's it.
Shavua tov.